Here's a quick tip the next time you're at karaoke: don't choose a Cocteau Twins song to sing, or maybe you do if you're completely wasted. The group's lyrics are famously difficult to understand and equally as unclear as they are beautiful to listen to. Cocteau Twins are considered one of the essential acts in British alternative music, along with the Smiths and New Order. In 3 words, you might describe them as dreamy sounding goths. Cocteau Twins helped define a genre that came to be known as shoegaze. It's a genre that emphasizes atmospheric and sonic texture as much as pop melody. A dream pop group that comes to mind, which I've previously covered on my channel, is Mazzy Star. So what makes up the core essence of Cocteau Twins? Well, it would be an intense romance between singer Elizabeth Fraser and guitarist Robin Guthrie, coupled with Fraser's ethereal, unique voice and occasionally unintelligible lyrics. But even Guthrie himself doesn't understand what Fraser is singing. In a 1994 interview with MTV's show 120 Minutes, the guitarist and the group's founder would reveal, "I don't know what she's saying, but the lyrics are all written down. It's just the way she sings them." Fraser herself is an interesting character. If you ever tried to figure out the meaning behind the lyrics of a Cocteau Twins song, just know that she's probably somewhere laughing. In an interview with The Quietus Online, she says she never considered herself successful at writing meaningful lyrics. In fact, there's even a term for it called glossolalia. It's a bit hard to describe, but it basically means using unfamiliar or non-existing language to communicate a certain emotion. It's actually listed in the 9 gifts of extraordinary power given by the Holy Spirit. If you guys want to laugh, look up Cocteau Twins memes and you'll see what I mean about their lyrics. That's not to say that they're all gibberish. You'll definitely find some actual words in English sprinkled throughout, but they're just part of the audio tapestry and definitely omitted from the typical grammar rules of language. Funny enough, unlike most musicians, Fraser had no ambition to make a career out of her musical talents, let alone become part of a group with a cult following that transcends generations. She grew up in a petrochemical town in Scotland, expecting to work in a mill much like her mother did. But because she lacked her mom's dexterity, she instead had to find a different path in life, and thank goodness for that. She met future bandmate and partner Guthrie at age 17 at a local club. He asked her to join the band that he started with a friend, Will Heggie, and the year was 1979. The band arguably hit their peak with the release of their critically acclaimed album, Heaven or Las Vegas. If you've never listened to the group before, then perhaps it's a great entry point into their catalog. Anyways, let's jump back a few years and talk about what happened in the 80s for the group leading up to their seminal album. In 1982, they signed with label 4AD, and a year later they made it onto the British charts with their single Pearly Dewdrops Drops, which ended up being their highest charting single of their career at number 29. A year later, founding member Will Heggie left the group, getting replaced by Simon Raymond on bass and keyboards, who remained with the group until they broke up in the late 90s. The 80s was a prolific period for the band, where they ended up releasing 6 albums. It was in 1985 that the band hit the United States thanks to an Ohio-based fan who had a self-published music newsletter called The Offense, where he mentioned the group. The phenomenon became known as Cocteau Twins fever. Fans traveled hundreds of miles to see the group at just one of their 5 stops in the US. By 1988, they'd signed to Capitol Records for distribution in the United States, remaining a 4AD group for international releases. 4AD label boss Ivo Russell Watts would describe their 1990 release Heaven or Las Vegas as, and I quote, "a perfect album." Yet for all her talent, Fraser prefers to stay out of the spotlight. Personally, and one of the most embarrassing moments was when the British press described her as, and I quote, "voice of God." Guthrie is a bit more loud and silly by comparison. It was in a 1994 interview with MTV's 120 Minutes. He was asked what inspired his music in the early days, and he responded, "Speed, and just that we wanted to put it out. Plus, my manager promised me lots of money." By the end of the 80s, Fraser and Guthrie were expecting their daughter Lucy Bell and were recording Heaven or Las Vegas at Pete Townshend's studio while reflecting on their experiences as new parents. A Pitchfork Online review of the album had this to say about the record: "She coos and squawks, mews and barks, murmurs and wails as though singing in a new language. One minute she sounds like an opera singer, the next like a mother baby talking to her new daughter." Guthrie was a strong personality, while Fraser considered herself impressionable. As she puts it in an interview with The Guardian Online, "I looked up to him. I could have never done it without him. The distinctive sound we developed flowed from the chemistry between us." It was during this period Guthrie descended further into drug and alcohol abuse, and less than 3 years after the 1990 release of Heaven or Las Vegas, they'd be over as a couple, but not as a group, following his stint in rehab and her nervous breakdown. After each one finished up their time in treatment, they decided it was actually time to end their relationship. Fraser, however, harbored regret over staying in the band for 2 more years after the couple broke up. with their final release coming in 1996's Milk and Kisses in that time. But after parting ways with Guthrie, she found love again with another successful musician named Jeff Buckley. She recorded a duet with him called All Flowers and Time Bend Towards the Sun, which they wrote together but never released commercially. Luckily, it's available on YouTube if you guys want to go check it out. Buckley would die at the young age of 30 after drowning in Memphis Harbor. I actually have done a video on the career of Jeff Buckley if you guys want to go check that out. Even though there's no reunion in sight, the band is still influencing artists decades after their breakup. In 2005, the band was supposed to headline Coachella, but Guthrie backed out and cost each member of the group a reported $2 million payday. When asked in the Guardian Online interview why she doesn't ever see the band getting back together, she would remark, "They were my life, and when you're in something that deep, you have to remove yourself completely." Cocteau Twins' influences can still be heard even on today's musicians. Meanwhile, pop star The Weeknd sampled cherry-colored funk on his 2011 mixtape, House of Balloons, while Prince even tried to emulate the band, recording the song Tic Tac Toe in 2014. In 2021, Miley Cyrus covered the title track of Heaven or Las Vegas for the grand opening of the Resorts World Casino in Las Vegas. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have suggestions for future topics, use the link in the description box below. We'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.